stopping by. I'm back at the Bristoe Station Battlefield Heritage Park, just outside of Manassas, Virginia, in Bristoe with a W. I'm here wandering around. Not too much going on right now. There's artillery at 4 o'clock, so I will be checking that out. And tonight there are campfire stories about the Civil War. So let's go. Let's see what's happening here at Bristoe Station Battlefield Heritage Park.
To rinse the butter, and typically you would squeeze it through a cheesecloth. It's really hard to clean greasy hands out here, and so I just do it back in the jar with cold water and do the same thing that we were doing to make the butter.
Is your reenactors, are you general civilians, or do you have a special character?
I don't. My husband and I just got started in this within the last 3 years. He is one of the soldiers in Battery K, 4th U.S. And this battery does allow the families, and so we come out with them. So we just cook and kind of take care of camp while they're all fighting. So.
And I see you got the big Dutch oven there.
Mm-hmm.
What are y'all cooking?
Beef stew.
Beef stew.
An actual commissary recipe from the Civil War. Beef, leeks, potatoes, parsnips, carrots, onions. I made a modern choice and put beef broth instead of just water in it. One of our families has bricks that they bring out, and we do a brick oven, and we have done.
Oh yeah.
Cakes and pies and biscuits and cinnamon rolls that we bake out here. We did Mary Todd Lincoln's white cake, almond flour.
Oh, you made the almond flour from there. Wow.
It took us 3 hours to
I
get
bet.
a cup of almond flour.
Oh my goodness.
So we do try to be authentic when we can.
And you've been a part of this for how many years?
Just today.
Just today?
Yeah, me and my husband, this is my very first time.
Oh, are you enjoying it?
So far, yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you like being a Civil War woman, huh?
Yeah.
What a challenge. Well, I thank you all so much.
You're welcome. I hope you've enjoyed your day.
I have. I'm going to hang out here for the 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Well, the artillery is about ready to begin their demonstration. So I'm sneaking around front. Get a little peek this way. How about that? I will. Oh, I was a bad girl. Go.
Load shell, 900 yards. Fire!
Watch that video that I had. My phone, like, I was rushing a little, and then
gunner is the commander of the piece. He gives the orders, he aims the weapon, he tells the rest of us what to do, or relays the orders of the officers who pretend to work. The number 1 man operates the worm and sponge. One end looks like a giant Q-tip. He dips that in water and uses to put out any sparks in the gun from previous rounds. The other end, the wooden dowel piece, is the rammer that he uses to seat the round in the breech of the cannon. I am the number 2 man. I use the worm, this giant corkscrew-like device, to scrape out the leavings of any previous rounds. An actual Civil War round would wrap its gunpowder in a cloth bag, linen or silk, so I'd only have to worm every 15 or 20 shots. However, with modern reenactors, we wrap our rounds in aluminum foil, so we have to scrape them out after every shot. I am also the loader. After I've wormed out the piece, the number 7 man brings forward a round in this leather pouch, and I will take it and place it in the barrel. The number 3 man has the most complicated job next to the gunner himself. He serves the vent. He uses, with that leather thumb stall protecting his thumb, he closes off the vent in the breech of the gun, so that we can keep any air from reigniting sparks, and also keep the number 1 man sponge from pushing sparks up into the vent where the water in his sponge can't get to them.
Wow.
After that, he will, once we've loaded the piece, he will prick a hole in the bag with his, well, prick. Looks like a giant straight pin. And he serves as the safety. When the number 4 man places a friction primer in the vent and holds it in place with the lanyard, the number 3 man will put his hand on the lanyards to keep the number 4 man from accidentally jerking and firing early if, say, he gets shot by a Confederate sniper. Shame. Yes. The number 4 man has one of the simpler jobs and also one of the most fun, because he actually makes the cannon go boom. On the gunner's order, he will give that lanyard a tug, igniting the friction primer, which is basically acts like a match. It's only reversed. It's a brass tube that's serrated on the inside with combustible material, and it's just like striking a match along the rough surface of the matchbook. The service charge for a gun like this would be 1 pound of powder in a silk or linen bag attached to the actual ammunition. This is solid shot. It is a 10-pound steel bolt. The 3-inch ordnance rifle and the 10-pound Parrott rifle both used a bolt very much like this. Use it against hard targets. Use it to knock down a building, or against an enemy cannon if you want to, say, hit the axle, knock the wheel off, and disable it so you can capture the tube.
Oh, made me jump that time. This is Greg, and he's going to tell us about the celebration here this weekend, the events, and why we're here.
Hi, I'm Greg Etroff of Battery K, 4th United States Artillery, and we are celebrating the anniversary of the Battle of Bristoe Station. In October of 1863, both the Army of the Potomac and Army of Northern Virginia were still reeling from the Battle of Gettysburg, and were kind of cautiously sparring with each other, advancing and retreating, trying to lure the other into a trap so they could fight a battle on really favorable terms. And neither opposing general was stupid enough to fall into the other's trap, so they kept on skirmishing and fighting little battles. Lee launched an invasion of Northern Virginia to try and force Meade into an unfavorable battle. And here at Bristoe Station, the 3rd Corps of Lee's army under A.P. Hill caught up to what it thought was just the rear guard of the Army of the Potomac. Turned out they were fighting an entire corps of the Union Army, this 2nd Corps that had been Hancock's. And instead of having an easy fight against a tiny force, he found himself in a massive scrap with a force that could handle him, I wouldn't say easily, but pretty thoroughly. And there was a rough fight, swayed back and forth for a while, some guns got captured and recaptured, but in the end the Confederates couldn't break the Union lines anywhere, suffered almost 3 times as many casualties as they inflicted. The Confederates got some help from another part of their army, Ewell's Second Corps, and so the Union, which had been flanked and smashed up badly by the Second Corps at Chancellorsville, and then on the first day of Gettysburg said, no, we're not going to let them do this to us a third time. And they pulled back even though they'd won a tactical victory. And so Lee suffered more casualties than he inflicted without really accomplishing anything. He captured some worthless ground and then had to retreat again. He ended up telling General Hill, who'd attacked here without orders, let us speak no more about it, which from General Lee is the equivalent of a screaming, frothing, plate-throwing rage. His polite disappointment is when he was really mad at you and was putting iron self-control on himself to not show it.
Wow.
Hill screwed up pretty badly here.
Yeah. Wow. And how many were killed here?
The total casualties were, I believe, about 1,300 Confederate and 500 Federal, maybe a little bit more. So more than twice as many, not quite 3 times as many on the Confederate side. There were about I think 15,000 or so Confederates and 8,000 or 9,000 Federals involved in the fight. So even though the Confederates had the advantage in numbers, because the Union was on the defensive and the Confederate attacks were kind of disjointed, the Union had the better of the fight.
Okay, Greg, thank you. How long have you been a reenactor?
Since 2013.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a character? Or are you a generally an Army person? Or?
I do both Army and Navy, and I have several characters based on what unit I'm working with. So today I'm a private in the regular Army doing artillery. I also have a character where I'm an ordinary seaman in the Navy. I have a character where I'm a junior officer commanding United States Colored Troops, the black soldiers that the Union Army started to raise after 1863. And I've also been a Confederate staff officer. If you go to Appomattox and watch the Visitor Center video there, I play Colonel Charles Marshall, who was one of Lee's staff officers and accompanied him at the surrender ceremony.
Oh my goodness. What are some of the surprising things you found out as you were researching Civil War?
Well, one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is how divided the South was. I mean, Virginia was so divided and split into 2 states. But about a third of the Southerners who fought during the Civil War fought for the Union. 2/3 fought for the Confederacy. Every southern state except Delaware had regiments on both sides.
Okay.
If you're including the black southern regiments that formed USCT forces as well as the white southern Unionists. There were families split. Robert E. Lee had a cousin who was a Union admiral. Abraham Lincoln had a brother-in-law who was a Confederate general. Grant and Longstreet were cousins by marriage. Longstreet was one of the groomsmen at Grant's wedding. At the Battle of Hampton Roads, the first battle of the Ironclads, Franklin Buchanan, the Confederate captain, sank his brother's ship.
Wow.
So it was very much a brother against brother fight, as well as this big socio-political fight between opposing cultures.
Wow. You ready?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
It was my
much.
pleasure.
Didn't you enjoy that interview with Greg? They're going to fire one more time now.
When they pull that friction primer, the jagged wire actually is like striking a man.
Oh my God! That was loud.
If there was actually a projectile in that gun, that thing would have rolled back up to 2 to 3 feet on flat surface.
That's true.
There's a lot of force
more
behind that
recoil.
little shot.
Yep. A lot more recoil.
And how far out would it go?
Just under 2 miles.
That ain't no football field, really. That's
So
like
you
20
could
football.
shoot from here beyond the railroad track.
When y'all are aiming the cannon
Uh-huh.
and you're moving, what's that piece down there called?
Trail.
The trail, the hand spy. The idea is that you can use that to aim left and right.
Does it actually move just the cannon?
Well, no, it's actually moving the whole carriage.
The whole carriage.
So you're actually twisting the whole carriage depending on which direction you want to go.
Okay.
And then under the cannon, you actually have a screw that can adjust up and down elevation.
Okay.
So we can adjust it however we need to. Then he's actually got a floating sight that sits in a hinge position, and that using wherever you set it and the sight in front of it, you can make sure you're aiming at what you want to aim for.
Wow.
So there's a lot of quiet math that goes into it. But anyone who's here and the gunner themselves, what's going to happen is that you may think they're, farm boys who don't know nothing. No, they have to understand elevation. They have to understand windage. They have to understand a lot of math that you and I don't think about, because it affects how the round flies. Where does it fly? At what elevation do you want certain things to happen? And knowing that information changes everything.
Thank you for joining me at the Bristoe Station Battlefield Heritage Park for the 157th anniversary of the Battle of Bristoe, a little-known battle with a big impact. I'd like to thank the Battery K 4th United States Artillery Civil War reenactors for their hospitality and for teaching us so much about the Civil War. If you get a chance, you should head out to a local Civil War reenactment near where you live. Let me know if you have and how much you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!